Hi, everyone. This is your Popples story tape. It's time for a terrific adventure with your friends, the Popples. Okay, here we go with the story, The Popples Saved the Circus.
The Popples loved the circus. They loved the circus because it was exciting. They loved the circus because it was colorful. They loved the circus because it made people happy. And Popples love anything that makes people happy. Every spring, the Popples could hardly wait to see the first circus poster. Every spring, they watched the big circus tent go up on the empty field at the edge of town. Every spring, they were the first ones to wake up on the day of the big circus parade. And this year was no exception. There they were, all 9 Popples, lined up at the side of the road to see the parade. Pretty Bit and Potato Chip and Putter stood in front because they were the smallest of the Popples. Prize and Puzzle and Puffball were medium size and stood behind them. Party and Pancake and PC were the tallest of the Popples and could see over everyone's head, so they stood in the back. All the Popples carried purple pennants and pink pom-poms to wave as the big parade passed by. All the Popples popped into their pouches and waited patiently for the parade. They waited and waited, and when they finally heard it coming down the street, they all popped out of their pouches. But alas, all the Popples and all the people were disappointed at what they saw. Instead of a big brass band, there were only a few drooping drummers and a pair of panting piccolo players. The elephant lumbered down the street with no one riding it. The horses trudged along with no bareback riders on them. And the clowns straggled sadly after a rickety-looking circus wagon that needed a new coat of paint.
Aww.
Groaned all the disappointed people. Cried all the disappointed children.
The circus has a problem,
said Pancake Popple, who was a perfect problem spotter. PC agreed.
You're right, Pancake. We've got to do something about it.
How about speaking to the circus ringmaster?
Suggested Party Popple.
Good idea,
said PC, and off he ran to see Mr. Porter, the circus ringmaster.
What has happened to the circus?
PC asked Mr. Porter.
It looks like it's in a slump.
Mr. Porter sighed and replied sadly.
It's in a slump, all right, PC. This circus has lost its excitement. And no one wants to see a circus that has no excitement. I think it's time to call it quits.
Call it quits?
Exclaimed PC.
You can't do that. The show must go on.
What else can I do?
Asked Mr. Porter, throwing his arms up in the air.
Only an exciting act can save the circus.
I'll find you an exciting act, one with a terrific troupe of troopers,
said PC, who knew that all the Popples would be happy to help save the circus.
What can your terrific troupe of troopers do?
Asked Mr. Porter.
Anything and everything,
boasted PC proudly.
Okay then, PC. Bring them to rehearsal tomorrow morning.
The Popples were so pleased by the possibility of being circus performers that they hardly slept a wink all night. Bright and early the next morning, they turned up at rehearsal, ready and raring to go. They all lined up in front of the circus ringmaster. Mr. Porter inspected the Popples very carefully, walking from one Popple to the next.
You are certainly colorful enough,
he said, nodding his head. When Mr. Porter stopped in front of Party Popple, he asked,
What can you do?
Anything
replied Party.
Anything and everything, Suppose you go over to see Marco the Magician.
Perfect!
Exclaimed Marco when he saw Party.
You are just about the right size and just about the right shape.
For what?
Asked Party Popple.
To act as my assistant.
Answered Marco.
That's peachy!
Cried Party, who was pleased as punch. Party practiced and practiced with Marco. She practiced until she was able to master all of Marco's magic to perfection.
I'm so proud of you.
Marco said to Party each time she performed perfectly. But all the praise embarrassed Party. And when Party was embarrassed, she started to giggle. She giggled and giggled and laughed and laughed. Soon, Marco was laughing too. He laughed so hard he dropped his bag of tricks and mixed up all his magic.
Tut, tut.
Exclaimed Mr. Porter, coming toward them.
This will never do. I think we will have to use another Popple instead of you.
Then Mr. Porter turned to Putter Popple and said,
Putter, go over to see Tammy, the lady in charge of the trampoline.
What can you do, Potter?
Asked Tammy.
Anything and everything.
Answered Putter proudly.
Perfect!
Cried Tammy.
You are just about the right size and just about the right shape.
For what?
Asked Putter.
To tumble on the trampoline, of course.
Answered Tammy. The trampoline was a piece of cake to Putter because he was so full of energy. It was practically impossible to get him to sit still long enough to do anything, unless it was to put together some kind of zany new invention. Putter practiced and practiced with Tammy. But when Tammy turned away for a moment, he decided to test one of his own nutty contraptions, a bouncing machine. He quickly strapped it on his back and began bouncing higher and higher and trickier and trickier. Tammy was pleased by the way Putter jumped and tumbled and did tricks on the trampoline. She applauded and called,
More, more, more!
Putter was so pleased by Tammy's praise that he turned up the power on his machine. Higher and higher he bounced, and bounced, and bounced, until he bounced right through the top of the big circus tent.
Tut, tut.
Exclaimed Mr. Porter, looking up.
This will never do. We will have to use another Popple instead of you.
Next, Mr. Porter pointed to Puzzle Popple and said,
Go see Teddy, the animal trainer.
What can you do, Puzzle?
Asked Teddy. Anything and everything, answered Puzzle, popping out with one of his funny faces.
Terrific.
Cried Teddy.
You are just about the right size and just about the right shape.
For what? Asked Puzzle.
To perform with my animals,
said Teddy. Puzzle agreed to help Teddy train the animals. After some practice, Puzzle was able to make the lions leap, and the bears bow, and the seals slap. Wow, look what I did! Exclaimed Puzzle excitedly. Whenever Puzzle was excited, he made funny faces. When people saw his funny faces, they laughed. But when the lions saw Puzzle's funny faces, they became frightened. When the bears saw Puzzle's funny faces, they became bashful. And when the seals saw Puzzle's funny faces, they stopped slapping and became silent.
Tut, tut.
Exclaimed Mr. Porter, coming into the ring.
This will never do. We will have to use another Popple instead of you.
Then Mr. Porter turned to Pancake Popple and said,
See what you can do with Carlo. He's in charge of the circus cannon.
Oh, what can you do, Pancake?
asked Carlo.
anything and everything,
answered Pancake as her tail wiggled. So Carlo took Pancake to see the colossal cannon that stood in front of the big circus tent.
There she is,
exclaimed Carlo. Then turning to Pancake, he said,
and you are just about the right size and just about the right shape.
For what?
asked Pancake.
To be shot out of my cannon, of course,
explained Carlo. Pancake climbed into the cannon. As the time drew near for the cannon to be fired, Pancake grew more and more excited. And whenever Pancake was excited, she flipped this way and that. This time, though, she flipped one time too many and got herself stuck tight inside the cannon. When Carlo went to fire the cannon, nothing happened. Pancake stayed put instead of shooting out of the cannon as she was supposed to.
Tut tut,
said Mr. Porter when the cannon didn't boom.
This will never do. One popple at a time just doesn't work out. Maybe all the popples at once would be something to shout about.
So Mr. Porter gathered all the popples together and told them,
Go see Pat, the acrobat.
What can you do? Pat asked the popples.
Anything and everything,
they answered together. Perfect, exclaimed Pat. You are all just about the right size and just about the right shape.
For what?
asked the popples. For a pyramid, said Pat. The popples practiced with Pat. Party and PC and Pancake, the biggest of the popples, were put in place for the base of the pyramid. On their shoulders stood Prize and Puzzle and Puffball, and on their shoulders stood Putter and Potato Chip. Last came Pretty Bit Popple, who topped off the pyramid like the star on top of a Christmas tree. Pat the acrobat was so pleased by the popple's perfect pyramid that he called the circus ringmaster. Mr. Porter came running.
Why, I've never seen a pyramid reach out so wide. I've never seen a pyramid balance up so high. The Popples' colorful pyramid is just the act to save my circus.
And indeed, the Popples act did save the circus. Each spring, the Popples picture is on every circus poster. Each spring, people wait online to see the spectacular Popple pyramid under the big top. And each spring, cheering crowds wait to see the Popples lead the great circus parade into town.